Today is time for a big step forward in this project. For now, after we click on an object, we can go to it and make it disappear, but that's it. You can't even tell that there is something clickable. My name is Pawel, I make games, and today we're gonna add name tags to items in our game. We want it to be a simple box with the name of an object, of course, and we're gonna make it follow the mouse as long as it is near the clickable object. To do this, we will need to create a new canvas. Let's rename it to name tag canvas. Inside we will need an image from the UI menu. It will be our name tag. Now we need to hop back to our canvas and change its render mode to workspace. We'll need to grab our only camera and use it as an event camera. Now let's set canvas size to 1x1 and its position to 0. Now we're gonna do the same with the image. We have a tiny white square and we are ready to adjust it to our needs. Let's make it a little bit wider. And let's change its color to black. You should also decrease its alpha a little bit to see through it. Alright, so now as we move our mouse on this plant, this little box will pop up somewhere over here and we will see some text. To display text we will need a Text Mesh Pro from the UI menu. If you can't see this, you will need to go to Window, Project Manager and go to the Unity registry and here search for Text Mesh Pro. Anyway, let's go to UI, Text Mesh Pro, and because that's our first time we use this package in our project, we will need to import some basic stuff. Alright, now it's done and we have this huge text, so we need to make it a little bit smaller, so let's decrease its font size. Now we need to click on this icon and holding Alt key we will need to use this option from the bottom right corner. This will make our text fill this black box wherever it was before. And in addition, the text will use all of the available space even if the size of the box changes. Anyway, now I think the text is still a bit too big, so let's change its size to, let's say, 0.6. Let's change the displayed text to plain and let's use a uppercase option. And it would be cool if we center this text. To be honest, this font doesn't feel like it's from the game we are currently making, so let's change it. And that's why I recommend you using Pixelate font. It's on devhand.com and in the package from the description of this video. As you can see, it's 100% free, so you don't need to give a credit to this guy, but it would be great if you do so. After you download and unpack it, you will have only one file. All we need to do is to add it to our assets, and name is broken again, so let me rename it. And now we need to go to Window, Text Mesh Pro, Font Asset Creator. Click on this circle and use our new font. We may close this window, leave everything at default settings, click Generate Font Asset and let Unity do its magic. As it's done, we need to save it somewhere and we are ready to go. As you can see, we have a new asset over there and we can use it in our Text Mesh Pro component. So let's go there and click this little circle and change our font to Pixelate. Okay, it's again a little bit too big, so let's change it font size to, let's say, 0.3, and as you zoom in you may see it's not centered, so let's leave it as it is and let's do a little trick. Decrease top value a little bit. For me it's -0.1. To check if it's centered, change the size of the name tag. Alright, for now we have this name tag canvas with an image and a text flash pro, and we want it to follow the mouse. Its render mode is set to wordspace, so we may treat it as a regular game object. Create a new script, let's say name tag, and open it up. In the update function, which is called every frame, we need to follow the mouse. We don't have anything like that, so let's create a new private void called follow mouse. It would be perfect if we could just grab a transform of an object which has this script, access its position, and set it to input that mouse position. As you can see, this position is in pixels, not in word units, so we need a few more things to make it behave like we want it to. All we need to do is to convert position in pixels into position in word game units. There is not much to code, but we need to look at it closely to understand it better. Firstly, let's replace this transform.position with debug.log to see in the console what our output is for now. As you can see, if we go to the top left corner, we have some values in pixels, and one of them is 0. Well, for now it doesn't look like we have much. We can see that we can't go below 0 and above our resolution. So if we divide the position in pixels by the resolution, we will get the position between 0 and 1. So one of the corners will be 0, 0, the other will be 0, 1, the other will be 1, 0, and the last one will be 1, 1. Now let's create a vector2 type variable and let's name it resolution, and to get the current resolution of our screen we will need to go to start function and set this vector2 as new vector2 with screen.width as an x value and screen.height as a y value. Now we may divide mouse position by the resolution and we will get values between 0 and 1. Now we should get another vector, but this time it will be the size of the screen in word game units. If we multiply it by the data we are currently working on, we will get mouse position in those units. Let's find out how big the screen is. To check that out, let's create a new empty game object. And let's add an icon to this object to see it better in the scene view. Now let's move this red dot to the corner, zoom in a little bit, and as we round this number we will get a minus 8.9, and as we move this dot to the bottom right corner we will get positive 8.9. We'll use it in the future, but for now we just remember that the width of our screen is 8.9 multiplied by 2, which is 17.8. Now let's go to the top right corner and we get positive 5, and as we go back to the bottom right corner we will get minus 5. As you may guess, the height of the screen is 5 multiplied by 2, which is 10. Alright, now we are ready to create a new vector2 called resolution in word units. The values will be 10 at y value, because that's the distance between minus 5 and 5, and 17.8 because that's the distance between minus 8.9 and 8.9. Alright, now we may multiply our mouse position by resolution in word units. Now we have values between 0 and positive number, but as you remember, we have our corners at positions minus something to positive something. But how is it supposed to work, you may ask? To avoid more math problems, we will just move everything in our scene by the half of the recently created vector. Let's move the camera by 8.9 on the x-axis and by 5 on the y-axis. Our game is broken, of course, now, and to fix this we will need to... oh, let's remove this test game object. We will need to create a new empty game object, let's call it, I don't know, scene 1. Reset its position and let's move everything inside it except main camera and name tag canvas. Now we may move this game object the same way we've moved the camera. Because we've just fixed the problem with corners, we may replace this debug.log with transform.position and we will be able to move our name tag correctly. If your name tag has a weird offset, you probably need to go to your canvas and a child object of it, which is a background of the text, and reset its position. Now the middle of this box is at the same place as the mouse is. Alright, now we may modify its offset again and make it look a little bit better. Alright, let's go to the object, we click to get item, go to the event trigger and add a new event of type pointer enter. There we need to grab the name the canvas and make it active. Let's add another event called pointer exit and let's set the name tag canvas inactive. Alright, as you may guess, now we have a possibility to show and hide the name tag. The next step is improving the item data script to make this name tag useful. For sure we're gonna need something to store the name of the object we are looking at, so let's add a public string called object name there. As the name gets longer we need a bigger name tag, so let's create a new public vector2 name tag size. And as we are here, let's add a default value of it. Go to Unity and give our plant name. Now we need to change our name tag somehow during the gameplay, so let's create a new function. It will be a public void update name tag. I'm sure we're gonna need an item data at some point, so let's use it as an argument of this function. For sure, we need to change the displayed name, change the size of the name tag, and update the offset of the name tag in case its size changes. And because to achieve this we will need to deal with the Rect Transform and the TextMesh Pro, add two new libraries before we start working. The first one is UnityEngine.ui and the second one is TM Pro. Now let's quickly grab our name tag. We will need a public game object called name tag. Or maybe let's change its type to Rect Transform because that's the only component from this game object we are interested in. Alright, to change the displayed name we will need to grab our name tag, get component in its children, and we are looking for TextMesh Pro UGUI or however it is pronounced. And we want to change the text it displays to something which is stored inside item.objectName. To change the size of it, we will need to access name tag again, but this time we will access its size delta and set it to name tag size, of course from the item. And to change the offset we will access name tag for the third time, and we will get its local position, and we use it because we want to set the position related to its parent object, not the word space. That's very important to know. It will be a new vector2. As you may remember, with the offset at 0, 0, our mouse will be exactly in the middle of the name tag, so we can move the name tag by the half of its size in the correct way to get what we want. And it would look better if we move it down a little bit, and that's why we will use item.nameTagSize.x divided by 2, a half of its width, and minus 0.5. A little bit more than a half of its height, but as I look at it now, I know that it will work only with the single line name tags. It should be more like the height divided by minus 1.6. If you really need to change it now, you will have to experiment with it a little bit. Now let's go back to Unity, find planned UI image which has event trigger component, add new element to the pointer enter event, use the main command there and use update name tag function. We're gonna use the planned item data there. Now we need to go to the game manager and tell it what the name tag is. Now let's disable our name tag canvas because we don't need to see it at the beginning of the game, and we are ready to see the results. It blinks in the middle for a moment, and to get rid of this behavior we will need to change this update function to late update function. As you may guess, it changes the time when it gets updated. But let's leave explaining how it works to a separated video. Let me know in the comments section if you would like to watch one like that. Okay, that's it for now. In the next video we are going to check if the game is in a good shape before we start adding more and more features to it. Have a good day and see you soon!